Hey, it's Nay, and welcome to or welcome back to Nay's Little Garden and Home. So I just did a video a couple days ago about how to do a garden using grow bags for about $350. Today we're gonna do how to start a garden with a raised bed garden for about $600. Now, same thing that I said before in the previous video, I am using pretty decent things like soil and other amendments to try to give you the best optimal chance to grow good things. I'm also factoring a lot of the things necessary to grow a garden. This is for raised beds specifically. There are cheaper or / more affordable ways to start a garden, especially if you can grow in ground. The $600 is giving you two 6x3x1. We're gonna get into those numbers in a second. We're gonna get into what you're gonna need in order to grow in these things, as well as I'm gonna show you and talk about a little template of what and where you're gonna place these things in order to get this. Now, for a raised bed garden, you are gonna need some sort of property in which you can place these raised beds. Now, if you can place these raised beds on some ground where there's soil, that in the long run is going to be more very useful, because eventually it's going to work its way through the cardboard. Like the cardboard is going to break down and the plants can get even deeper than what I'm about to talk about. I have seen people do raised beds on cement, like on like a sidewalk part of their house stuff. So you really can do these things. Now for stuff like that, I would say you would need to get a more expensive raised beds that have higher footage. So let's jump right into it. Don't forget to like button and subscribe. I am going off of two pack of a 6x3x1. 6 is the length, so this will be 6 feet long. 3 is the width, this will be 3 foot deep, and 1 is the height, this will be 1 foot high. So you will have a 6 foot by 3 foot by 1 foot. This is a low bed. The higher the bed, the more expensive the bed is going to be, the more expensive it's going to be to fill said bed. However, if you're working with no soil in your backyard, then that might be more beneficial. I am using Amazon as a means because most people have access to that. I cannot tell you the pricing at your local stores. This is current pricing as well now. And I'm telling you these prices now because you don't have to buy everything now. You could sit there and be like, okay, December's looking a little rough. I got maybe $60. January, I got $150. February, I got $250. March, I got the last some change dollars, right? I'm not giving you these numbers and you're sitting here like this has to be my minimum. I'm using pretty good soil and pretty decent other things, and then some things are like I'm not using the best raised beds out there. Like I said, honestly, if you could find wood for cheap that is very specific specifications to it, right? It has to be able to be used outdoors, and there's no chemicals like that used in it, and then you already got screws and your stuff drilling stuff in there. You can make yourself a 6x3x1 raised bed and save even more money. Do you get what I'm saying? Like there's a bunch of different ways to go about this. So I just really don't want you to sit there and be like, this is it. If I don't have $600, I can't have a raised bed. I also a raised bed garden, a small one to start off with, right? And you can also half this. Why am I saying that? Because although you can still get the 2-pack, so it's Zinin, ZIZIN 2-pack 6x3x1 raised bed right now for $55. That's insane. The average 6x3x1 raised bed is gonna run you about $60. I guess, closer to the growing season, right? So we're out of season, right? So this would be the first thing I would pick up. And now you can say in your head, right? Because I said you got only $60 this month, that you can just pick up. And then you have a 2-pack. But you can say for this coming 2026 growing season, I'm only going to use one 6x3x1 raised bed, which is going to slash the next multiple things I'm going to talk about in half, because you have to fill it. The majority of the money that's going towards raised bed is the fill. So that's something else you can take into consideration, right? If you can manage to scrap together leaves, right? That can fill your raised bed. If you can grab, now this is only 1 foot high, so I wouldn't say go grab you some logs. You can grab you some branches, okay? The bigger it is, like if you got like a 3 feet tall raised bed, that's different. Now you can grab you some logs, but you need soil for the plants to grow, and I just don't want it to be like trying to battle for its life, especially for some of the plants I'm going to be telling you can grow, right? So going off of this 2-pack of 6x3x1, you're starting off about $55. Then there's the Michigan Peat 40-pound compost and manure. You're going to get about 3 or 4 of those. That is going to run you about $104 or under. It's $26 a pop. So if you're getting 4, it's $104. If you're getting 3, it's less than that, right? This composted manure is going to be good and nutritious. Now, we're not going to worry about fertilizer because we're using this compost/manure. You're going to need about 8 bags of the Espoma Organic Raised Bed Mix. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I have not completely filled my raised beds and then go back the next year and fill them up some more, and plants still grow. So if you're like, and these Espoma Organic Raised Bed Mix is 1.5 cubic feet. So, right, we have at the bottom of our raised beds at least either some branches or some sticks. If you manage to do one of those 2 things or both those things, this next thing won't be necessary. If you cannot or don't want to mess around with trying to scavenge for sticks or leaves, you can get 4 bags of 1 cubic foot of the Back to Roots organic mulch for $120. They're $30 a pop. If you have it in an area where they give free mulch, if you live in that area, you're just saving $120. Or like I said, if you have the branches and the leaves, you're saving yourself $120. Think about filling, if you have 1 foot, 1/3 of that with the branches, the leaves, and or the mulch, right? So now you have the mulch, and then you have the soil, like I said, the Espoma Organic Raised Bed Mix. From there, tomato cages. I know you're going to hear people say tomato cages are garbage. They are not the best for growing tomatoes. They work better for peppers, but you can get away with tomatoes. When you're starting out, we don't want to spend $1,000, right? So from the Legigo 6-pack of 48-inch tall tomato cages for $35. Okay? You put those numbers together, you're going to get about $560. Now, that is under $600. Here's where it gets, I said around $600. Are you going to do seeds? If the answer is yes, you can get about all the seeds you need from M.I. Gardener. I've already discussed that price, around $30, and you get in a bunch of a bunch of different seeds. Excuse me, and a bunch of different seeds, and that's gonna slash you not just 2026, but probably 2027, depending on how good you are at starting your seeds. If you're like, girl, I'm new, I can't be about that life, you're gonna end up spending again for one actual planting time. So I can't tell you your planting time, but if you're living about a zone 6, 7, it's gonna be around a Mother's Day or a little bit after that. And so that would be another month where you would be like, all right, I'm gonna drop another $40, $50 getting plant starts. Plant starts is gonna save you some more money, but also spend more money if you don't already have starting supplies for gardening. We are gonna get into that video as well. I'm gonna go down all the multiple different ways you can go about gardening and the guesstimate price. Of course, like I said, I'm going off of what I was able to find off of Amazon. There are 1,000 different websites you can go on. There are the Vigo raised beds people love to gas, and a bunch of other ones that are really good. And my gardener also has a raised bed that they did with other people, someone else, and they just cost more money. Gardening can be an investment, like an initial startup investment. You can also start gardening and not spend buku money and have good harvest. You could also get very lucky and meet someone who is willing to give you some stuff. Like if I know someone personally and they say, I want to start a garden, I have a few grow bags that I would be like, take these 2 grow bags. You got $60, get one bag. The bag is $30 each. And then fill it up. It'll be about a little more than halfway, maybe a little under halfway full. That's okay. Start growing something. Just start growing something. I'm gonna do a video just for herbs because you can in fact grow that inside and or grow that outside. And I will do one video to talk about both, what the price would be to grow inside at a decent things, right? We're not going the cheapest, we're not going the most expensive. We're on the middle point, and then the middle price point of growing them outside and what that could potentially look like. Now let's get into what you can grow. And I'm just giving examples because I want you to grow what you consume that makes sense for your grow zone. Don't come to me and be like, I eat papaya and banana and you live in zone 4. I'm gonna make you sad when I say this. You will probably almost certainly not be able to grow papaya and banana in zone 4, right? Like we gotta be realistic. So I'm gonna show you my chicken scratch. Don't judge me. This is what we have here for these 2 6x3 raised beds. Now, like I said, you can chop this in half and save the second raised bed for 2027 or the fall, right? End of summer or fall of 2026, and then get more soil and stuff like that, right? So what do we have here? Tomatoes, peppers, eggplant, basil, carrots, beets, and beans. And if you like parsley, I did throw parsley in one section here, but we're gonna say 7 for certain different crops in this. Now, the rule of thumb generally is 1 square foot per type of plant. The amount you can grow in there depends on the plant. Here's an example. Tomatoes, peppers, eggplant. Those take 1 plant, typically per square foot. Typically. Walk with me for a minute. Carrots can be about 10 to 16 carrots per square foot. Beets about 6 to 9 per square foot. Beans about 2 to 4 per square foot. Basil, I'm gonna tell you right now, you're gonna want to give that 1 square foot because that thing can get big. Parsley, probably about 1 square foot as well. Now, I said all that to say, and I'm gonna negate what I just said to you. If you do 6 times 3, you're gonna get 18, which means you should have 18 square feet. I'm gonna tell you right now, these raised beds, they're rounded at the edge, and the way the square footage worked out last year in 2024 for me, I feel like it was just too much. 2025, I was a little better, and I'm gonna do even better. So what I did on here for you to try not to stress you is I gave the tomato, pepper, and eggplant almost 2 square feet each. So think 1.5 square feet, right? So that it can grow big and bush. Now remember, we only got a 6-pack of the tomato cages. So you would put, and this is just examples. So here, let's just say these 4, you would just do 1 tomato cage each. And then down here, you'd put a tomato cage here, and then a tomato cage at the other side. And then in the middle one would potentially be propped up by these 2 tomato cages. I've seen all types of things though. You can get 6 feet tall bamboo sticks and a rubber mallet, which you might have already if you camp or whatever other things you can use that, but definitely camping, you would get a rubber mallet. Oftentimes, if you actually camp, and you can hammer them into the flooring or the floor around your raised bed if it's soil. And then you can buy you some twine, and you can twine that ish up and twine it around through it like this, and it's gonna keep it up tight. That is gonna require some stealth. And if you felt like that's a lot, just go ahead and buy the tomato cages. I'm just giving you some little bit of assistance. And every year you can do little upgrades. The first year could potentially be, it's gonna probably be your most expensive. I also put here, just in case you would like to attempt some summer squash. So that would give you 8 to 9 different seed packets. Summer squash is bountiful. If you eat it, summer squash is one of the easiest things in terms of, I don't know, it just be popping up with mad stuff. Like, you'll be tired. You'll be like, oh my gosh, do I really need all this squash? Neighbors, do you need squash? Family members, do you need squash? Like, they're gonna be like, oh my gosh, she's coming, run. She has squash to give us again. But it is gonna feed you, right? 1, 2, 3. So I have 4 tomato plants here, 3 pepper plants, 2 squash plants, 16. Listen, I put 16 carrots in here, although you might get away with putting a few extra because the tomato, I haven't given exactly 2 square foot, so you might be able to encroach a little bit on the tomato spacing. The situation with that is it really depends on what kind of tomatoes you want to grow. Now, I would, if you're going to do both raised beds, take one raised bed to grow maybe like slicers, like ones that, the indeterminate ones that grow bigger, and then maybe the other one, perchance you can grow you some like cherry tomatoes. Now, I do advise, if you're going to be buying tomatoes, if you want to spend the least amount of money, you could go ahead and get you 2 varieties and keep it moving, and that's it, right? A slicer, or 1 variety, and keep it moving, and do like a slicer. I'm talking about seeds right now. Or you want to give yourself some variety and have different growth times. Cherry tomatoes are going to be ready sooner than most other tomato varieties. So you can get yourself a packet of cherry tomatoes and get yourself a packet of slicers or saladettes. Saladettes are going to be faster than the slicers, but the slicers are going to be bigger. So do with that what you will. And there's just a lot of varieties of tomatoes. There's a lot of varieties of peppers. Do not overwhelm yourself. However, if you need an incentive to make sure you're going to grow, the best thing to do would be to grow something you don't get at your local grocery store. So even if you're like, I just need a sweet pepper though, perhaps the Lesya, Lesya. The pepper is grown like this. It's shaped like this. You can get an orange one or red one, or I think, those are, believe are the 2 colors. And it's bell pepper like. Or you can grow yourself, well, I'm not going to go into varieties. We're going to be here all day. But there's a ton of different peppers. There's a ton of different tomatoes. Maybe don't grow a whole bunch of things you've never had before, and then you might not like it. Try to be semi-neutral in some and then a little bit, adventurous, so that you're getting a little bit of both. With beans, really quick, I would not suggest getting beans that you're gonna dry if you're trying to get decent yields. Only because the process of letting those beans dry out and take the pods off and unshell them and all, like green beans, if you like it, would probably be the best bet. There's a whole lot of things to this, but for around $600, you can get a raised bed garden and get a lot. This is gonna give you a lot of produce. I'm gonna let you know right now. And even if you do one of these raised beds, you're gonna grow more, right, than what you would grow in the $350 one that has 5 grow bags, okay? You can start as small as you need to. I made a raised bed out of like the bricks that have little curves in it and some long wood that I got from the store, okay? And I filled up half of it. I did. And the plants grew. I grew it on the side that I had soil in it. And they grew. You also can do that. You can pick up these 2-pack, store one for the following year because you know you're going to fill it, and only fill up half of it. Grow 1 tomato plant, 1 pepper plant, 1 eggplant, wait. Hold on, half of it's here. 1 tomato, 1 pepper, 1 eggplant, 1 row of carrots, 1 row of beets, and 1 thing of basil. And still have 6 different things that you could be harvesting from, and it's only half of that 6x3 by 1 raised bed. And you're gonna spend a lot less than $600 because you're buying more than half the amount of mulch and raised bed mix and compost and manure. Yeah? And do you desperately need the compost and manure? No, I'm just helping you with nutrients because that's gonna help where you don't have to, it's basically replacing the fertilizer, if you will, right? And you're not all just technically pounding on all this manure per se in the beginning. You might go back and add a little more halfway through. Like, you can get really technical with this. You know what I mean? I'm trying to give these examples because I want to give some realistic expectations of a medium price. You can do it cheaper, you can do it more expensive. I try in life to do the middle, not the cheapest and not the most expensive. And the middle tends to do pretty well. And if you want to upgrade in the future, you can do that. But you can garden, and you don't have to spend all $600 at most. Like I said, you could do $60 for December. Pick a price. I'm just randomly picking prices. You can do $150 in January. You can do $250 in February, and split it between paychecks. If you need to start gardening later, because let's say you have to, what did I just do with my pen? Y'all, how am I gonna do this without a pen? But let's just say you can't start gardening till June because you can only do $100 every month until you get this. That is okay. People are like end of June, I'm talking about. Like, you have to do 2 paychecks in June as well. That's okay. Because I started really late 2 years ago and I still got produce. Do not judge yourself. Every year is gonna be different, and if you're really a beginner, it might be better to get some plants. And like I said, if you can only fill up half of it, that's a half of 1 raised bed, then do that. I'm just giving you the general numbers because I believe everyone should have a chance to grow. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this whole video, and hopefully I see you in my next one. Bye-bye.